Hello everyone, my name is Anubhav
Hi, Ms. Bharat.
and we are again back with a session on Copilot agents. Today we will be building declarative agents using Copilot Studio. Along with it, we'll be adding a couple of knowledge sources and actions. So just a quick recap. We have two types of Copilot agents, declarative and custom. Declarative, which extends the M365 Copilot capabilities, and custom when you are using the custom orchestrator or LLM. So there are different ways you can build declarative agents. One is SharePoint agent, which is built within the SharePoint using the content on that site. It uses the specific files which is present within the folder. Then after that, we have M365 Copilot or Teams. So we build these agents using the embedded Copilot Studio builder. We also have Copilot Studio as well as VS Code. So if you want a quick recap of SharePoint agents or the agent which is built using the M365 Copilot or Teams, please refer to our previous video. For now, we'll be looking into the Copilot Studio. Over to Bharat.
Okay, let's get into Copilot Studio. So as you can see, I am in Copilot Studio, which is copilotstudio.microsoft.com. So while we are within Copilot Studio, if we click on agents on the left here, this view shares, like you can see that there are a list of agents that appear over here, the ones that I've created. So these agents are the custom agents. In order to create a declarative agent for that we can use within Copilot, we need first click on this link here which says Copilot for Microsoft 365. Once within this view is where we have this option which says add, as you can see over here, and the agents that we can create using this add button are the declarative agents. So let me go ahead and click on add. So now once I'm in this create agent view, as you can see, I have the natural language mode in which I can interact with the Copilot Studio agent builder and have my agent built. So in this scenario, what happens is that the agent will ask me for various questions, various information that it requires to build the agent. I can also alternatively skip to configure if I already have the information on the agent that I want to build, and if I already know what description, what instructions, etc. that I want to include. In my case, for today's scenario, we will try and build an IT self-service agent. So the idea is to build an agent that can access, to start with, say SharePoint site as one of the knowledge sources. And we will also add a graph connector. So to give an experience on how the agent performs when there is a SharePoint site as well as a graph connector available as a knowledge source. Lastly, as an action, because this is a declarative agent built using Copilot Studio, once we created this agent, we also will get the option to add actions. We will add an action to get information from the ServiceNow knowledge base. So that is like going to be real time. So the three scenarios basically: get information from SharePoint, get information from the graph connector, which is basically data that has been ingested into the graph from a website, and thirdly, get real-time information from a ServiceNow site. Okay, so let's start creating this agent. So let me just give it a name. So need to provide a description. I'm just going to copy this from the information that I already have. As you can see, as I am adding information over here on the right hand side, the agent is basically the Copilot Studio builder is working in the background and capturing the information in the format that it requires to help us build this agent. Now let me also add some instructions. So I have created a set of instructions. So what I'm trying to tell you that tell the agent is that you're an IT expert with knowledge around IT related topics. When user inquires on a certain topic, you will look for information in the knowledge sources and provide accurate responses. In case you're not able to provide the response, you indicate the same to the user, ensure that what's the persona that that I want the agent to have, etc. Now I will go ahead now that I've added the instructions and indicated the kind of persona that I want. Let me also go ahead and first of all add a few starter prompts. So let's get started. Now I have again some starter prompts that I already have set up for this session today. So these are all basically some information that is available in the knowledge sources that we will be querying. So I just have some 3 or 4 starter prompts here. So then I'm going to enter.
I hope you guys remember, starter prompts are the one which appears directly within your Copilot or the declarative agent when you start or run it. So I think here also the limit is 6 starter prompts.
Yeah, you can go to 6 starter prompts. Yeah. So just for the sake of it, I'm just adding 3. You can always come back and add more if you want.
Sure.
Now let me also add a knowledge base over here. So let me just go ahead and click on add knowledge, and I can either point it to a SharePoint site as a URL, or I can also look at adding specific documents.
Yeah.
So for this sake, I'm just going to add a SharePoint site. So let me quickly bring the URL of that SharePoint site.
Think of it this way, like folks, like in your organization you might have some of the other SharePoint sites wherein it could be for various scenarios, right? You have different websites available, and so along with it you have the document repository and all. So Bharat is also trying to bring up all of those relevant files and documents for the IT scenario.
Okay, so I just have added the location to the folder where I have certain documents related to the IT information that would be maybe useful for users when they query. So I'm just going to click on add over here. So now as you can see, it's I have one knowledge source, which is a document repository on one of the SharePoint sites.
And Bharat, so just one question. So I think you just pasted the entire link which you found on the browser, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that automatically takes in and brings in the IT docs directly from the link.
Yes.
Okay.
So just to showcase over here, this was the document folder that I just pasted.
Yeah.
So what happens now is that the agent, when queried upon, will look into the information from all the documents that are available within the URL that it has been pointed to. If we are sure that the information that we're looking at is available in some specific documents, we can always mention the specific documents. But if it is a more generic, high-level directory that we want to point to, this is the approach that we can always take.
And the other approach was we can always browse and select the folders, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So as part, like, I don't want this agent to have the web browsing. I don't want it to browse on the internet and get us any information, so I'm going to leave it disabled. Now with this, I can go ahead and click on create. So what's happening now in the background is that with all the information that I provided, the description, instructions, the starter prompts, knowledge source, etc. Now the Copilot Studio is building the agent in the background. This should take a few seconds. So once the agent is built and ready, we should be good to test it out. So yeah, so as you can see now, the agent is ready, and what you can see in the test view over here. So just let you guys know, the test bot or the test agent can be tested by clicking on this test icon on the top right. So which will bring up a view for us of this agent. So as you can see, it also includes the starter prompts that I had added previously over here. So let's just test one of it out and see if it works. So what should happen now is that it should look into the SharePoint location that we have pointed it to and get us information from this site. So as you can see, it has just gone into my one of some of the documents that are available, and it has gotten this information for me. Let me just try one more time. Yeah. So as you can see over here, it's gotten all this information as well, and you're also pointing to the reference, the document from where it has fetched this information. So now with this, what we have now achieved is that we have a declarative agent that is functioning with a SharePoint site as a knowledge source and with a few prompts. We will not publish this agent into Teams now. We will do it at the end. At this point, we are good to understand that by testing it over here in the test view, that the agent is functioning properly and it is getting us the information accurately. Now let's just quickly go ahead and add a graph connector as well over here.
Yeah.
So along with the SharePoint site as a knowledge sources, we also have options to add other formats as well. So for example, if I would click on advanced, as you can see over here, it is possible to add any of the graph connectors that are available. So I'm going to select enterprise websites, and I have already created a graph connector for one of the sample sites that we've created. So that site just has maybe 4 or 5 pages, and it has information on certain articles, so which does not exist in the SharePoint site. So what we're trying to just showcase here is that it is possible to add multiple types of knowledge sources, and the agent can still function and get you the information accurately from these various information sources. So let me just go ahead and click on add. So now the graph connector also should be getting added in the background. So in case folks who do not know how to get the graph connector configured, this is basically configuration is needs to be done in the Microsoft Admin Center. So where you have the option to add various channels as various knowledge sources as graph connector. So if I were to take you to my admin center, under settings, if you look at search and intelligence and go to data sources, so this is where your admin will have to add a connection. So if I were to show you over here, you can see this internet sites cloud one. This is the site that I have configured as part of as a graph connector. So basically information from this particular site has been ingested and is available to in the graph. So as you can see, it just has 3 articles. So if I were to just query on any of these information, I should be able to get my agent to be able to retrieve information from these this knowledge source as well. Do keep in mind, once you have added this particular any site as a knowledge source, do keep in mind that once you have added any site as a knowledge source in your using your Microsoft Admin Center, it may take a while depending upon the number of items that need to be indexed. So because in our case it was very less, so that's the reason this like, because we just had 4 items, this should have happened in like maybe 15-20 minutes or something like that, in a short span of time. But otherwise it takes certain time, maybe a few hours or sometimes slightly longer than that as well.
Yeah, I think they need to check the current status, right? Like in our case, it was green, set as ready.
Yes.
So I mean, just in case when you try it out with these graph connectors, and if you're not getting any responses from them, it means that it is still getting indexed.
Yes. So let me now quickly, because now I've already added the graph connector also as a knowledge source, let me try to query some information regarding this control. So made up controls for device manager pro.
Yeah.
So I will just ask how to enroll devices in controls for manager pro. Let's see if the agent is now able to understand, basically go through the various knowledge sources that are available and get information regarding this from the relevant knowledge source, which is the graph connector. Okay, while it has not showed it to me from where it has picked, maybe I'll just try to restart my agent once again and check the query again.
I think it should ideally show us at the bottom either as citations or like the link
Yeah.
which it is providing the information from.
Let's try it out again. So well, the information did come, and we know that it does not exist in the SharePoint location, but we just wanted to still confirm that it has gotten it from.
Yeah, now this time I see
So,
some, yeah.
So as you can see, it has gotten it from the KB102. Clicking on the link will take me to that exact site. So the URL is also available as a reference. So now we know that be it from the SharePoint location or from the Graph Connector, so basically the agent is going through these different knowledge sources and trying to see where it can get a accurate response, or at least a good response from for the query that the user has raised, and is able to give you a response. So now we've added a couple of knowledge sources. Let's try to add an action. So as I mentioned earlier, the actions view is available only once you created an agent. It is not available at the time of creation of an agent. So now as you can see over here, I have an option to add an action. So let me quickly go ahead and type in the action. So if you recollect, we had originally discussed that we will try to now we'll try to add information, so something that's real time maybe from a ServiceNow. Yep. So I now search for ServiceNow as a connector. So the way it works is when you try to retrieve information or when you want to perform an action, you need to configure the connector, the relevant connector that you want. So in this case, ServiceNow provides multiple connectors. So these are basically nothing but Power Platform. These connectors have been existing since Power Platform. So it's the same connectors that we're trying to take advantage of over here as well. So get knowledge articles is the connector that I will be will be configuring over here. So the idea is the first two knowledge sources that we configured are like either pointing to SharePoint or data that has been ingested into Graph, but here it is going to be real-time information that will come in from the ServiceNow knowledge base itself.
Okay.
Now because I've added this connector for the first time, as you can see, there is an icon that indicates that this connection has failed. That's because I have not yet authenticated or provided any information to authenticate this connection. So let me just quickly try and add the details over here for my ServiceNow instance. So there are various options that you can use to authenticate, but I have already configured the OAuth client in ServiceNow. So in case you're trying to use OAuth, you may also want to check with your ServiceNow admin on how to do that. So I have once you have created a OAuth client on ServiceNow, or for that matter any of your other systems when you're trying to integrate, you will get a client ID and a client secret that you need to use. So in the case of ServiceNow, it's the ServiceNow instance name as well that you need to add. And now if I try to click on sign in, so it's trying to make that connection with ServiceNow, and because it's the first time, as you can see, it has gotten me a login screen where it's asking me to enter my credentials, and it's asking for permission. So this is where if I were to click on allow, the connection between your ServiceNow and your Copilot agent gets established. So let me just say allow.
So basically here the connection is getting established and it's picking up the OAuth, using OAuth, and it's getting the token, and that token will be basically utilized.
Yeah. So as you can see, now the connection is got established and it's indicating that this is a valid connection. I'll go ahead and click on next. I will say add this as an action.
So we have already added two of the knowledge sources, which was the SharePoint and the Graph Connector. Now the third one is using actions, which is from ServiceNow.
So, but while it is about retrieving information, it is still an action because it's getting information real time from your ServiceNow source.
Yeah.
So let me just quickly show you how the connection looks like. So once inside the connection, you have the options to configure how you want the inputs and the outputs to be. So in this case, the input is only the query, and we will leave it as dynamically filled. So what happens if you click it as keep it as dynamically filled? is that the agent determines basis my query, the user's query, on what is the query that needs to be sent to ServiceNow to get a response. The other option you have is set as value, which does not apply over here, because then it would mean that we are hard coding the request that we want to send to ServiceNow. So we will keep it as dynamically filled with the best option. Now, while we've added the get knowledge articles as action, we've not modified the instruction, because if you recollect, the original instructions talked about look into the knowledge sources and what kind of persona you should have, etc. But we also need to mention to the agent that when should it look into that particular action. So which means that we will have to modify the instruction that is there. So let's see, when the user asks for information, I think there is something that I had mentioned over here. When the user inquires about a certain topic, you look for that information from your knowledge sources and provide accurate responses. So maybe I'll just modify it to say that look into the knowledge sources and also into the get knowledge articles connector.
And the thing is, like, this is declarative, right? So it runs purely on the basis of your instructions. So you have to be very thorough on what you're instructing it to do.
Yep. So now what if you can see over here, I've just revised this particular instruction. I said when the user asks for information, you will first look into the knowledge sources configured. You will also call the get knowledge sources connector to see if the information is available on the topic. So basically,
you will also call get knowledge articles.
Yes, the knowledge articles connector. So
okay,
I've instructed it not only to look into the knowledge sources, which is in these two knowledge sources that are configured, but also into this connector, which is the action.
So we have to explicitly we can notify it that okay, this is the connector that it needs to call on certain use case, basically.
Yes. So now let me go ahead and save this instruction. And once it's saved, let me very quickly go ahead and refresh. So now that I've modified the instructions, I think this agent is also good to go. Now I have some test articles already available in my ServiceNow instance. So let me just try to query on one of them. So let me just ask, do I create an email signature? So I think this information does not exist in the SharePoint site. I'm sure it does not exist on the Graph Connector as a knowledge source. So this should go into our action. So basically, if you can see what's happened here, is that it has actually tried to connect to that action, and because it's the first time that it is trying to make an attempting to connect, it's saying like it's asking for permissions over here. So let me click on connect. So what's going to happen here is that it is going to create a connection here. So as you can see, it's trying to create a connection on ServiceNow and saying status is not connected. So I'll go and click on connect. Because my credentials are already entered, if you remember in the previous time when I tried to add the ServiceNow action into my flow. So it just has taken the same and said, okay, ServiceNow connected, your connection is valid. I can go ahead and click on submit. So now
it's like the always allow that we used to see in the Copilot agent itself.
So you can see now a connection has been established for me as a user. So now that the connection has been established, if I were to try and do a retry, now what's going to happen is that it's going to now call that connection, which is the get knowledge articles connector, using the connector, and get me the information. So as you can see over here, I think I'll just do another refresh, because it's not again showing me from where it has fetched it, maybe because it's the first time. So let's just run the same query again. This time we should see some details on the ServiceNow knowledge base article as well.
Yeah, the citation wasn't clear enough.
Yeah. Okay. But I think it is getting the information, but for some reason it's not showing it up very clearly. Maybe what we can.
All we see is IT help desk.
Yeah.
That's not a link, right?
Yeah, it's not. But I'm sure it's fetched this information. That's the reason it's showing it up as a one. Now that we have our agent ready and good to go, maybe we can go ahead and publish this agent so that we can check it out on Teams and see what the result is like.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and quickly publish this agent. It should take a few seconds. So now, as you can see, our agent has been published. So we have a few options. We can either copy the link and check it out at our end, or if you want to share this agent with our teammates or users, and also if you want to show to someone, basically everyone in the organization, which means it needs to go for an admin approval. Also, we have an option to download the zip file. This is where we can actually download this agent as a zip file and sideload it into our Teams and try it out.
I think the copy would work wonder.
Yeah, so I'll try the share link and then copy it and check. So meanwhile, let me just click on done here, open a new tab and paste the link. So this is going to open the agent in Microsoft 365 Copilot. Yep. So as you can see, the agent has come up with the name we gave.
Yeah.
Click on add. So this agent now would be available in both our Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot chat, and it should also have come up within Teams as well.
Teams
so
Copilot, yeah.
In the Teams Copilot as well. So let's maybe quickly check it out there as well.
Yep. We have
so as you can see, we have it over here. I will still go back to my IT help desk within Microsoft 365 Copilot chat, and let's quickly test out this agent.
So it should retrieve the result from SharePoint.
This one should come from SharePoint.
Yeah.
Yes, so because it's doing it for the first time, it's asking me for my permission here. So I just say always allow. Because this is the first time, it's asked me to sign in to IT help desk.
So establishing the connection?
Yep. So the connection is not yet there because now I'm logging in from Microsoft 365 Copilot. So it's again going to take my credentials that it has already found. And,
so I think it's safe to say that when we are doing a test from within the Copilot Studio, that's a different agent altogether, but when it's published, it's a different agent.
Yes.
And I know a lot of times in our mind it goes as we just provided permission, but that's a different connection. There's a different connection. The name may appear same, but still different instances.
Yep. So as you can see, it's gone into the SharePoint location and got the response for me from the SharePoint location.
Yeah. So the previous time when it was asking for the permission, I believe it was trying to establish connection with the action.
Yes. Okay. It has to look into
all of the places. Yeah. So
let me also try to ask the query so that it looks into my graph connector ingested data.
You can ask here itself.
Oh yeah. So this is the graph connector. This query should look into graph connector information basically that has been ingested, and it should get us a response. So as you can see, it's picked it up from BKB 102.
That's the same.
Oh yeah, that's in the same place. Now lastly, I want to query on information that is available from the ServiceNow knowledge base. So this is an article that's available within my ServiceNow knowledge base. So and I'm sure it does not exist in the other two sources. So it should actually go and get the information from there. Let's see. So as you can see,
that's the same response that we saw on your IT help desk.
Okay, let's quickly check what it has done. So by looking at so if you recollect, we talked about keeping the developer mode on to get some more debug info. So I can see that it has gone ahead, it has triggered the get knowledge articles, which is found as a match, which is basically means that that's the action that it has triggered, and it has gotten the information from ServiceNow. So the information is accurately coming from ServiceNow, just that it has not, it's not showing up clearly as a citation. Maybe I will just try to.
Is it picking up the name of the agent itself?
Yes, over here, but I think that must be either an issue or something that's happening from within this agent. But ideally, it has fetched the information from the knowledge base, the ServiceNow knowledge base itself, as we can see from the debug information that we just got. Okay, I just tried another query. Let's see where it takes this from. Okay, so this
no, it picked from the SharePoint one.
Okay. Let me just ask some information about. Okay, maybe there's one more way that we could do this.
Maybe check the ServiceNow instance and see if you have another question from the knowledge base.
Yep.
I mean, it's all testing, right? I mean, we just want to ensure that all the three, knowledge sources are working perfectly fine.
Exactly. So I just added another line here, which is something as an article that exists on the ServiceNow test instance. But I've also said, get me the ID of this knowledge base article, because I know that in ServiceNow each article has ID.
Yeah.
So as you can see over here, it's picked the ID for that particular article.
So I see that we already have again the same source, which is IT help desk. So I think that's the way it responds back when it connects with the action and the information is coming in.
I was just opening up the ServiceNow window just to validate. So as you can see, it's gone into actually it's looked into ServiceNow and it's gotten me the article ID as well, which matches with what it is showing up over here. And if I were to just look into the debug info, I should be able to see the same, that yes, it's gone, it's triggered the get knowledge articles action, and it has taken this my query as input, and it has gotten the response.
I think this is a clear picture of showing how we were able to connect with various data sources. Especially considering the fact that ServiceNow is completely external. So it was able to connect to an external data source as a knowledge source and provide you information.
Yep. So agent having multiple knowledge sources, the SharePoint and Graph Connector, and also being able to perform an action where required, and everything happened using instructions only. It's purely English that we gave as any kind of instructions. There is no coding or anything that we had to do to achieve this functionality. That's it for today's session. Thank you folks. I hope you found this useful.
Yeah, and stay tuned. I think we will try to do the same for even building an agent using the VS Code.
Yeah.
Thank you.